It's west of Everest. I'm Lee. He's Grant. Oklahoma's got a massive game this Saturday, and we're here to talk all about it. Real quick, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, those are the main places that you all listen and watch the show, so thank you for that. Quick shout-out to a longtime listener. Haven't heard from him in a while. There's a reason for that. He left us a not three-word review. He left us a review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That's listener P23570. And he used to always leave us a ton of 3-word reviews. In his review on Apple Podcasts, he explains why. We're missing your super creative and off-the-wall 3-word reviews, P23570. But happy that you're still listening to the show. Thank you for the 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. All right, let's jump right in. Grant, what's going on?
Nothing much. It's late Wednesday night. It's Wednesday, right? Is it Wednesday? Yes, it is. It's Wednesday. On the eve, I'm gonna be in Iowa City this weekend for the battle of the Floyd of Rosedale, the trophy, the pig trophy, Minnesota versus Iowa. So kind of getting ready for that, and it's supposed to be a nice weekend, good week of college football. Very, very happy that those two games do not overlap, so I will be able to watch the OU game, the 11 a.m. kick. It's a 2:30 kick in Iowa City, so looking forward to that. It's about to be 2 back-to-back weekends just chock full of football for me and you, and so we're just kind of getting ready for that. It's a pretty big one on Saturday. This is like it almost feels quiet. OU's schedule is loaded. They have if they're going to make any sort of run here, the rest of them are all going to be massive, huge games. But
yeah,
to go on any sort of run, you got to win the first one, and this one just happens to be at home. And looking forward to it. Kind of looks like it's supposed to be a little rainy and everything in the forecast, which I think is actually pretty obviously that obviously benefits Oklahoma, so I don't really mind that at all. But big weekend of college football coming up. I'm trying to prepare myself for it.
Yeah, this is great. It's 5 games remain in the regular season. They're all huge. And right now they're all huge. We'll see 3 weeks from now if the Alabama game or Missouri, whoever the heck the schedule is. I don't have it. Like, I know that Oklahoma plays Ole Miss and then Tennessee next, and I can't remember who they play. Is it LSU the last game? One game at a time, man.
Ole Miss, Tennessee, bye week, Alabama, then back home, Missouri and LSU to close it.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, point is that the degree to which these games are big will all be determined week to week. And this one right now is huge. And it's an 11 a.m. kick. Yeah, and I was looking at the forecast this morning, and I know it's like 100% chance of rain last time I checked. And it's going to be in the probably high 50s, low 60s. It's going to be football weather. And people here in Oklahoma some people have been complaining about the lack of fall-type weather of late, and I've been enjoying the weather still like in the mid to high 80s a lot of the time, and now in the last few days has changed. Well, maybe we're getting into the fall and, football weather, and I'm not really sure who it's going to benefit or not. I kind of wanted to talk about that, but honestly, I don't have any sort of hot takes on if the weather will help OU or Ole Miss more, or if it's going to be a wash, pun intended. So I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on that.
My very quick logic is just Ole Miss is much more reliant on their explosive passing game than Oklahoma is. OU's a defense-first team. They're at home. And it may not matter at all. It also could really hurt Oklahoma's offense, but I think if you had to choose, I think that probably benefits Oklahoma more because I think, at least in my brain, you can talk yourself into that impacting Ole Miss's offense in a negative light a lot more than OU's, but who knows? We'll find out. So a lot going on this week, though. And speaking of Oklahoma's defense, Lane Kiffin earlier this week. Lee, you like that transition? You like that? I know you like it. You're shaking your head. You like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that lane transition you made there. Thank you.
Nice. Earlier this week on Monday, Lane Kiffin was asked about what makes Oklahoma's defense so good. This is what Lane Kiffin said.
that other teams don't seem to be able to do?
Well, I think that's two-part. I think one, it's phenomenal prep. A film study of signals. I mean, as I just tell you how it is. I think they do a great job of that. So if you study people really well, tendencies, and then you have enough confidence as a coach to go after those, that seems what he does. And seems like, they've got a really good beat on the plays that are coming when they're called. And they do a great job of going and taking those away. I mean, you look at the Auburn game, I told Hugh after the game watching it, you might want to switch the signals. Like, it looks like they have the plays. The middle safety's running down to steal slants, which is very abnormal.
You may have just answered my next question, but do you get with that in mind? Do you have to kind of shake everything up from a signal standpoint this week, or do you do that every week anyway?
No, we're going to keep our same signals.
I guess I was wondering, do you do that every week, or is that something that you have to specifically address because of who you're playing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And competitively, I can't answer that for you.
Well, Lee, would you believe if I told you that answer to that question caused a bit of a social media stink earlier this week? Whereas a lot of people who don't have a lot of media literacy, I think, were assuming, or maybe people who had just looked at headlines and didn't actually watch that clip, assumed that Lane Kiffin was accusing Oklahoma of sign stealing a la 2023 Michigan, when that's not what he was doing. I think he was essentially saying OU pays attention to film and they get people signals off of their film. Now, what I think is interesting is I think some people have kind of gone back and tried to decide in that Auburn game, what play is he talking about? And I think internet
plays.
or it could be plays, but I think the internet
but I think there's one play that everyone figured out, right?
The Peyton Bowen one where it should have been a pick six. And my first thought on this is, and Lane Kiffin has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, but I don't know. I feel like I've watched a lot of football in the RPO era, and I see middle safeties crashing down on slants literally all of the time.
Okay, so I'll hit on that. I have a couple of things about this that I find interesting. Number one, I did find it kind of, at the start, unusual that Kiffin admitted to reaching out to Hugh Freeze and saying, hey, man, like, you got to change up your signals. But then I did some digging and learned that it sounds like Kiffin and Hugh Freeze have had a relationship that's dates way back. So it sounds like they're friends. So it was a little less unusual that he was texting him. So I guess that wasn't as weird after I learned more. But yeah, to your point, the example that Kiffin used of the middle safety running down and stealing slants, which he said is like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it said that's highly unusual. You don't see that very often. And then, I think that's the play. I mean, you go back to the Auburn game and the Peyton Bowen play where the ball, if Jackson Arnold would have thrown a better pass, Peyton would probably picked it off. But thinking the way Oklahoma's secondary and has played this year, they can't force turnovers for the most part. I guess maybe they just he's never going to intercept that, but that's a whole other story. But if that's all Lane has, just that one play, I say that's pretty weak T to like change up signal. Because, he wasn't accusing him of like stealing anything. Like, he's accusing Venables of preparation and sure stealing or like knowing signals. But like, I think that particular play and that offense is pretty easy to see on film. And that Jackson Arnold is all about RPOs and Hugh Freeze and Auburn. Not to mention Peyton Bowen played with Jackson Arnold all last season. So I think there's that. And then more importantly, in general, I think Oklahoma's D-backs are not particularly good this season at reading plays and breaking on balls and creating turnovers. So, like, I wish Oklahoma was a lot better at stealing slants or whatever the language he used and jumping in and knowing what the quarterback wanted to do before the snap. Because if they did, they'd have a lot more than 2 interceptions, one of which was a gimme at the end of the game last week, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So I thought it was kind of weird that Lane Kiffin made those comments. And so hopefully this means that Brent Venables is in Lane Kiffin's head a little bit. And Lane's concerned about the Oklahoma defense coming at him.
Well, and I'm sure he is concerned. Oklahoma is going to be by a pretty wide margin the best defense that Ole Miss has gone up against. LSU is a really good defense too. I think LSU has been had a little bit more in the last month than OU has, but I'm going to go conspiracy on the bit just a little bit. And it's because I think that his example of middle safeties coming up to rob the slant, I think that's extremely common. I'm pretty sure in that play OU was just in cover one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the times in cover one there is a middle safety who is the robber who will come down and be in the middle of the field. And so
No, I don't think they're in cover one, because that would imply that Peyton Bowen was the only safety back deep, and there's no way he'd come up and try to rob a slant and leave the entire back half open. I'd have to go back and watch the play, but I mean, he might have just been they might have just playing. Oh, okay. Are you saying they were playing one robber?
Yeah.
Then yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then maybe that they could have been, and he could have been the robber, and they could have had either RSJ back deep, or I mean, depending on the snap that Boganowski was playing, I don't know.
So what I'm sort of getting at is that Lane Kiffin is a known troll, and so you talk about how maybe Brent Venables is in Lane Kiffin's head. My conspiracy theory is Lane Kiffin trying to get in Brent Venables' head, and because this whole thing with OU stealing signals like during the game or being able to find them on the all-22 and everything, that is a long-running thing that is known about Brent Venables. That's always been a thing, that he's really good at stealing signs between the lines, like on seeing it on film, seeing it on game day. This is like a bit that is widely known in the coaching circle, and haven't really heard a whole lot about that ever since he's been at OU. I know sort of the semi-famous story is that in the 2020 playoffs, when Ohio State played Clemson in the Sugar Bowl or something, that I think it was, that Ohio State went into that game and they completely changed all of their signals and had a different signaling process that wasn't on, that they'd never done before. And if you know anything about, if you remember that game at all, Justin Fields threw for like 400 yards and like 6 touchdowns, and Ohio State went up and down the field, scored like 60 points on Clemson's awesome defense. And it was the year
that was
before
one of the games where, as a Chicago Bears fan, I remember thinking, Justin Fields might kind of have something. Not to mention his career, his numbers really good, doing that against a Brent Venables defense in a high leverage playoff game. And then it turns out, really, Justin Fields is just not a very good passer of the football in the NFL. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that's okay. Sorry, go ahead with your story.
No, and so the narrative after that started to be like, oh, well, Venables' defenses aren't as good when he doesn't have the signs, when he's not able to steal the signs. Because I think, Clemson and Ohio State had played in the semifinals the year before that, when both teams were undefeated, and Ohio State was one of the best kind of like regular season teams of all time. They had Chase Young. That was that team. And Clemson beat them by a couple of scores in the Fiesta Bowl, and there, for kind of the first time all season, Ohio State's offense was stymied pretty aggressively by Venables' Clemson defense. And so my sort of conspiracy mind is that Kiffin wanted to throw that out into the ether so that Brent Venables would hear it, and he would start to think, oh crap, maybe that whole bit with Ohio State in 2020, maybe there is some truth to that in Venables' world. And he's like, crap, we gotta think of something else here. So that's my that's my sort of.
That's a pretty good conspiracy theory, because, hey, if I'm a opposing coach, I think there's a lot of evidence to where if you could, I think Venables tends to probably overthink some things. I mean, look back at the Texas week with all of the. I mean, I don't pay attention to this stuff as much as I used to when I was in the news as my job, but I guess there was a lot. I mean, a lot of weird schadenfreude about practicing inside, and it shows you how little I kind of jump in and out. But it's like, why? Like, why was all of this? Like, what are we doing here? I mean, and then they play like that. And so, who knows? Maybe now Venables this week hearing that, to your point, if it's a conspiracy, like he's like overthinking now. Oh, I got to do something different here. Or I got to change something up. Or I don't know.
Brent Venables is.
I hope it's the other way around,
though.
Hopefully it's the other way around, though. And Lane's kind of like, damn, this defense is better than anything I've seen, and it's going to rain a little bit. And
well, that goes to my next point, where is that if you actually watch the clip, I think it's pretty obvious that Lane Kiffin is not being disrespectful. He's not accusing Oklahoma of anything. That being said, it is a long-standing cliche amongst intense competitors who win at a high level that they will take the dumbest stuff possible, turn it into a slight for motivation. And I think OU should do that with what Lane Kiffin said. Like, hey, he doesn't think that you guys are any good. He thinks you guys are only good because we have their signals. That's it. And I really think that they should be playing that up in the locker room. That doesn't mean, you do anything different with your preparation or anything like that. But I think on the defensive side of the ball, especially when you have a lot of guys who have been in the system a long time, have played a lot of college football, you're not I don't think you would necessarily be as concerned about them being so amped up that they like blow an assignment because they're just so fired up and they want to rip someone's head off. You would hope that their experience would lead to that not happening. And so on the defensive side of the ball, like I'd prefer my offensive guys to be calm, cool, and collected. Unless you're an offensive lineman, then those guys are psychos. They do what they want. But defensive side of the ball, I want all 11 guys out there to be psychopaths and who will put their body on the line and anything you need for a big game like this. And so I really hope that that's the case. I can tell you, Brent Venables was asked about this on Tuesday during his availability, and he said point blank that he takes it as a compliment, which if you listen to the clip, which we just showed you, it was, I thought, pretty obviously a compliment from Lane Kiffin. It was more of like ball knowers recognizing ball knowers. So, anyway, there you go. That was the weekly social media controversy in OU football land.
You know what I immediately thought of when you said you wanted every player on the defense to be a psychopath? First thing I thought of, and it sucks that we're at this stage in our life where I got to make a reference, and it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite. I mean, but it's so old now. I mean, it's 25 yees old. But it made me think of Jon Favreau's character in The Replacements, where Gene Hackman's like, "Go get me the ball," and the guy's just an absolute psychopath. And he goes and gets him the ball.
It's exactly
and that
what
movie
I
was made, and that movie came out in 2000.
It's
like, oh my god,
it's an underrated movie. The Washington Sentinels, Keanu, man, love Keanu.
It's a great movie.
It's great. It's a very, very underrated, not just football movie, but sports movie in general. So Lee, I didn't think there was much. Nothing much really came from Ben Arbuckle and Brent Venables' availability this week. I do think there is one very notable thing that I do want to touch on real quick. So, kind of some weird stuff going on with Kendall Dolby, and I don't have the exact quote for you, but so we all know that Kendall Dolby he popped up on the injury report I think on Friday night last week. And then he didn't even, Brent Venables confirmed that he didn't even travel with the team to South Carolina last weekend. And Venables, when asked about it, said, Dolby is just figuring some stuff out right now. He said he's still practicing with the team, but figuring stuff out while he's practicing with the team. And so I'm just going to lodge, is it fair to speculate that this is like a red shirt and transfer situation for Kendall Dolby? That's what Brent Venables said, that he's trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, I think it's 100% fair to speculate that. And I think now looking at the availability report again, and I mean, Dolby's not on it, but he said, he popped up late. So, but did Venables say something like he's there, he's available or something? Did he add that in a comment?
I think and what that means,
so we'll
I don't
see.
know. I think it means he's technically available, but him saying he's figuring stuff out, and it didn't even really comment on his health or anything like that. And so, and hey, I got to tell you, and I know you've been saying how you wanted to see more Kendall Dolby. Whenever I watched him this year, he wasn't fully the guy that I remember. He clearly is still recovering from that injury, I thought. And I think they have better options at corner at this point in time. And they just have better options at Cheetah, too. Kendall Daniels and Reggie Powers have both been really good this year. And I think Reggie Powers sort of fills in that role because, Dolby from that spot on the field, maybe his best asset was his ability to blitz. He's a really good blitzer. And I think Reggie Powers is really good at it, too. And he seems to be fully healthy.
Maybe that's just a position where everybody can be good at. Because, hey, go get the quarterback. I don't know. Like, are you athletic? Go get him. So maybe you plug and play, but the stuff that's harder, or like if you got to play coverage and got there, which Kendall Daniels, obviously we haven't seen him play a whole lot of coverage, didn't have to because they're picking their spots with him. By the way, I don't think we really talked about Kendall Daniels much on the post-game South Carolina podcast. He had another good game, and he's been about as good as we could have all imagined coming over from Oklahoma State, man. I'm really pleased with the way he's fit into the defense, the way he's playing. It's rarely ever. I know there's that tipped ball that he didn't catch against Auburn. It's like, other than, there's very rarely am I ever, if at all, I'm like, man, Kendall Daniels just didn't show up today, or like I don't know what it seems like he's always showing up, making plays, and putting himself in a good spot. So good for him.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see him. Because I can't remember what year it was at Oklahoma State where he had just like a terrific season, and
I think it was his true freshman season, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it you could see it when you watched their defense play. It was like, yeah, that guy's good. He's really good, and I am just delighted to see that he's grown in OU's defense, and he hasn't just been a nice player for them. He's been a guy who's made plays, and he's been. I think he's almost certainly made himself some money this year for sure, and so I think he's probably on a relatively long list of guys who have definitely played their way into getting drafted this year for Oklahoma's defense. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. But I
just want to quickly. It was his redshirt freshman year and his sophomore year. He had two really good seasons at Oklahoma State. And also, while we're on the subject of many corrections, I did go back and rewatch the touchdown that South Carolina scored. And, yes, Lenore Sellers had not started his throwing motion whenever Kip Lewis got there. So maybe if the hold didn't happen, maybe he would have got the sack. I tend to think Lenore Sellers probably just would have ran away from him. But it was on fourth down, so the touchdown probably wouldn't have happened.
He was flat-footed, though, and Kip was coming in pretty hot. So I don't think – would Kip have gotten him down on first knock? Probably not. But you're in that
that Kip Lewis was still on the team, because I feel like I don't see him a whole lot. I don't know what that says about the rest of the team, but anyways, good to see that he's still out there in the Crimson and Cream. So, anyways,
indeed.
What were you getting at?
No, I was gonna say I think we'll see. I think if we don't see Dolby at all this week, I think it's probably pretty fair to just assume that he's going to redshirt and transfer. And you know what? They really haven't needed him at much this year, because as injured as they've been on the offensive line this season, their defense has been extraordinarily healthy. They are it doesn't even seem like they have anyone even remotely banged up on the defensive side of the ball. That's me knocking
There's
on
something
wood
going
right
on,
now.
man. Dolby was the only player last season that got hurt in Gentry. Obviously.
Oh, Gentry, yeah. But we've heard
on defense.
Yeah. And everything that we've heard since Gentry got hurt, after the game, Venables said that it wasn't serious, and I guess we can sort of transition to this now. I have the availability report here. Let me go ahead and share this real quick. Yeah. It's interesting about who is questionable. I think there's one name on there that is a surprise, and that's Derek Simmons, a guy who looked like he tore something against Texas, and then wasn't even on the injury report at all leading up to this, and now he's there as questionable. I've heard some talk about something that may have happened at practice this week. Has not been confirmed anywhere, but so we'll see what it looks like on Thursday and Friday for him. but from what I hear, him being questionable is very much a thing. So, which would not be good. That wouldn't be good. That's why Logan Howland there on the questionable line as well. He's got to do everything in his power to be healthy to play this game. Has to.
And it's continually seeing Sexton and Taylor as out, and it's just had really hoped that those would be for like at least 2 years of like solid full years, like they'd be like the bookend tackles for OU, and that's never gonna happen.
No,
that's just
no.
too bad.
So we'll see what happens with Simmons. Howland's got to play. He's got to get out there and play. You don't want to. I mean, neither of those guys play. You're talking about Baklenko at right tackle, unless they slide over Foje, which is his natural position. But I think he's been at right guard pretty much the entire year. I'm not sure if you would necessarily want him being out there in a spot like this in a big game. But gosh, what if Baklenko goes down? Then what on earth do they do? Howland has got to be available for this game, and then Gentry, of course, being questionable there as well. With Gentry, man, we'll get to Ole Miss's receivers, who I think is, I think Ole Miss, their receivers is the best position group on their team, and so they're going to need all the defensive back help they possibly can get. So we'll see with Gentry though. I don't know who said it. It was you and I talking, but like somebody even said that. He almost, maybe I heard it on the Keyhole pod, that he was trying to get back into the game last Saturday as well. And so hopefully it's just I don't know. But with him, him being made of glass, who knows?
Yeah, so, okay. More on, just real quick on, speaking of conspiracy theories about the Lane Kiffin thing, looking at the availability report, I think fuel to the fire of the conspiracy theory that Javonte Barnes may be not playing in redshirt, like another is still on the injury report. Like what injury? we in practice, so it's not getting any better.
I will say I'm not sure if you listened to I think it was the Sooner Scoop pod actually talked about this. I think it was last week in the midweek, and Eddie said, I'm pretty sure it was Eddie. He said that the whole bit of Javonte Barnes getting hurt pregame was like a thing, that he was walking back up the tunnel at the Cotton Bowl, like barely able to walk. So I think he actually might be hurt.
I remember hearing that. And then also on the Ole Miss side, there's some important players on the questionable line for them.
That's be huge. Both those guys at the top, especially Daquan Wright, who I think is their scariest pass catcher.
Man, don't you just love how, especially you, I'm sure you love how Lane Kiffin utilizes the tight end. You're like the tight end expert on this show.
I do, and that's always the thing. Brent Venables' defense has struggled to cover tight ends over the middle of the field. I don't think OU has faced one decent tight end all year, and injuries, who is a guy at Texas, a guy who I just desperately wanted out of the transfer portal, is Texas has not utilized him at all. But Texas' offense is bad, so that's probably a large reason for that. But, Daquan Wright I think he's only got like 19 catches this year. But he's second on the team in receiving. He's got 300. Have you looked at their receivers? They have five guys that all have between 300 and 400 yards receiving.
Yeah, it's incredible. They have 5 players. Well, first of all, they have 4 players with 19 or more catches, 5 with 16 or more, and they're all averaging yards per catch is outrageous. Daquan Wright's over 20, which is terrific. So their pass catches are really good, obviously, and their offense is really good, and it's the system. And Trinidad Chambliss is doing a great job, playing point guard, like to say, and getting these guys the ball.
Indeed. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see for sure. Although if you recall, do you remember? I remember last year. I think it was before Ole Miss played Georgia in Oxford, that like half of Ole Miss's team was questionable on the initial injury report. I think we even commented on it on this show. And then every single one of them played. So
I can see Lane
Kiffin has a reputation for being weird with the injury report.
All right. With that, it is now time for the weekly edition of OU's Opponent Superlative. Grant, take it away.
Thank you, Lee. This is the Battle Frog OU Opponent Superlative brought to you by Hyundai. On Saturday, the Ole Miss Runnin' Rebs will visit Norman, Oklahoma for the first time ever. It'll only be the third ever matchup between the two programs. Fortunately for OU, Deuce McAllister ain't walking through that door. Trinidad Chambliss, however, will be walking through that door for Mississippi. Chambliss usurped early season starter Austin Simmons in September and hasn't looked back for Ole Miss. Chambliss originally made a name for himself as the starting quarterback for Division II national champion Ferris State. Oddly enough, Chambliss was only a one-year starter for Ferris State and has only ever thrown a pass in 16 games ever at the Division II level. Last season, Chambliss led the Bulldogs to a 15-1 record on their way to the national championship. They reeled off 15 consecutive wins following a 19-3 season-opening loss to Pittsburgh State. Pitt State just happens to be the alma mater of one Nate Dreiling, OU's inside linebacker coach. A sign of things to come for OU on Saturday? Maybe. Probably not, but also likely. Lee, what do you know about Ole Miss?
Real quick, and you may not know the answer to this question, but speaking of Chambliss's previous school, was he ever teammates with former Sooner great Connor Neer? Remember
is
him
that
from
where
Ferris State?
Is that where Connor Neer played? Connor,
Yeah.
was that year one of Veny though?
Year 1 or 2.
So actually, no, I don't think he was. Because I believe Connor Neer's final year at Ferris State would have been 2021. Chambliss's first season at Ferris State was 2022. He's a 22, 23, 24, 25 guy.
So wait, what year was Chambliss's first year?
His first year at
Connor
Ferris
Neer-
State.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Chambliss's first season at Ferris State was the 2022 season. He didn't play that year. In 2023,
But he was on the roster.
I believe he was on the because he was a sophomore in 2023 when he got his first action.
Okay.
So 2023,
Okay, Connor
he threw
Neer.
go ahead.
So Connor Neer, that was his last year at Ferris State was 2022. So they may know each other,
They probably
they
do know
played-
each other.
offense and defense. Man,
Connor Neer was not a thing. Wasn't a thing. Although I think some of us had convinced ourselves that he was going to be a thing.
did you know he played in every single game in 2023, mostly on special teams?
Connor Neer
would
did?
never have known that. Yeah, Connor
I mean,
Neer.
I guess
yeah.
I did not know that, but I guess it doesn't surprise me. I mean, yeah, he's just he's on kickoff and punt team. That kind of makes sense. But I mean, there were
he was
some
like
people that
It was like his 5th year as a college football player, 5th or 6th year. So yeah, I would hope that he'd be able to do something on special teams.
I remember going back and looking at. I mean, his numbers in Division II were pretty terrific. They're great, and it just shows you the level of ball that it's just totally different. Whereas I guess I X'd out of this, but I'll try to filibuster here for a bit. But Chambliss's numbers at Ferris State are not necessarily what you would expect them to be for a guy that has come in and probably been one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football so far this season, playing in the SEC. And it's not like Ole Miss has played a terrible schedule or anything like that. I mean, I think this is going to be their 5th SEC game that they've played in already, or their 4th maybe. Because I know what they played: Kentucky and Arkansas, Georgia, LSU. Yeah, this is their 5th SEC game. So, and Chambliss has looked pretty good against all of them. I think Kentucky was the only game that he didn't really play in that much. So, but yeah, I'm pulling up here. His numbers there were not like overwhelmingly great. He only threw that national championship season. He only threw for 195 yards a game, and he was only a 60% completion percentage guy. What else? Let's see here. How can I just totally tear this guy apart? Was only at 8 yards per attempt. 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So, I mean, a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio, but not necessarily a guy where you're just like, oh gosh, like this dude just dominated at that level. He did. He did run for over 1,000 yards his last year there. A little 1,019 yards in 15 games. I don't know. I've watched him. I think he's really good. I think he's like really good. Although when I look at his numbers this season don't necessarily match up with what I've seen. And so I was pretty surprised to see that he's like a low 60% completion percentage guy, and if you go and you look at Ole Miss's like advanced stats and everything, it sort of paints the picture that in the passing game, they're overly reliant on the explosive, where if they do not have like an explosive passing play, they're not really completing a lot of passes. So that doesn't, when you kind of marry it with that logic, it makes sense. But I think it's pretty clearly the best offense Oklahoma's faced this season so far. I think it's like by far the best offense they've faced this year. It's going to be the best coordinated. It's going to have the best skill talent. Offensive line, maybe, I'm not sure. I think Michigan's has like really been rounded into form and has been pretty good this season. But I think it's going to be a huge challenge for OU's defense. And I'm really happy this game is at home. But also I thought OU, for the most part, played pretty well against Ole Miss a season ago. And Ole Miss's offense this year is nowhere near as good as it was last year. Last year, they were like elite of the elite of college football. This year, I think they're merely really good. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, I think Ole Miss's offense is definitely one of the best in the country. I guess it depends on like what counts as elite. I mean, is top 5, top 10? I mean, I guess it all depends on definitions at that point.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, because it depends on on year to year too. But so going into this game, Ole Miss is 10th in SP Plus offense. I think they were in the top 3 last year in offense, and so seeing what Jackson Dart is doing in the NFL now, he is not having any trouble in the NFL at all, which kind of shocks me, to be honest with you. Whereas last year when I think Ole Miss was operating at a high level, I think they were borderline unstoppable. I don't feel the same way about this offense this year.
Sure, and I mean, I think it comes down to the quarterback. I mean, Jackson Dart was a fourth-year starter, at least 3. I know he played a lot at USC his first year before transferring, and he had a terrific year. I mean, he was almost 70% completions, throwing the ball down the field. I mean, over 10 yards per almost 10.5 yards per attempt. I mean, he had an awesome season. He was great, and obviously Chambliss now he's played a little bit, but first year as a starter in the SEC. So that's obviously a big boost for OU. Is that Chambliss? He's on the road. Yeah, I mean he's already played. Let's see. I mean he was on the road last week, right, at Georgia, and played pretty well. But back-to-back road games, that's tough. But it's not.
That was his
first.
That was his first SEC
one, yeah.
road start. Yeah, his first road start in general, I believe.
And for the most part, he played well. And what I've seen from him is kind of what you see out of Lane's offense. I mean, he's going to play on time. He gets the ball out. I mean, if Oklahoma's going to do the thing where they give cushion and stuff, it's like Ben Arbuckle's offense. They're going to take free yards. I mean, look at the long touchdown catch and run at the start of the third quarter last week against Georgia. I mean, that was just a straight up easy little 7-yard hitch, and missed tackle, and the guy took it to the house. I mean, where I would be concerned is obviously the Lane Kiffin and the passing offense, and I think finally we're going to really definitively learn if Oklahoma's secondary can cover anybody. Because I'm sorry, up to this point, they just the passing offenses they've faced have just not been very good. I mean, this is a huge step up, and I know Oklahoma's pass defense is highly ranked. We're going to find out if that's accurate or if that's just their schedule. And so I don't have a whole lot on Ole Miss. I mean, I think all their pass catchers are really scary, and I think Oklahoma's weakness on the on defense is a secondary. So that's not great. So the question is, will the front 7, the front 4 get after it good enough? We hope that was going to be the case against Texas. They couldn't. Texas had a plan for it, and Texas' offense isn't anywhere near as good as Ole Miss's offense.
I think we can throw that game in the trash. I genuinely think we can. I'm much more comfortable just chalking that up to Texas just plays exceptionally well in that game. They just do.
I mean, it could be. I mean, but here's what I was thinking though. I mean, I think back to one last year. I mean, again, Jackson Dart's not Trinidad Chambliss. Chambliss is not going to be as good as Dart, but Dart, whatever he needed to last year, diced up Oklahoma in through the air. I mean, his numbers were he threw for over 300 yards, like multiple touchdowns, completed almost all of his passes. The ones he didn't complete, like he missed some throws. I mean, go back and listen to our post-game podcast after that game. I mean, they just kind of got whatever they want through the air, whatever they wanted. And Oklahoma's run defense was good. Oklahoma stopped the run really well, and shocking. That's what Oklahoma does. They stop the run really well, but then against good passing offenses, they tend to give up a lot of yards through the air. And that game, though, was a lot closer than it probably should have been, honestly. And so that's what worries me about this game is that Lane Kiffin, I think, knows how to get yards and knows how to get chunk plays against Brent Venables' defense. The question is, though, can Trinidad Chambliss do it as a first-year starter in the SEC compared to Jackson Dart? And I think he can. I mean, but again, this is definitely the best defense that Ole Miss will have seen. And so again, I think we're going to find out if Oklahoma's ranking as the number top 5 pass defense and everything looks great. Is that relatively accurate, or is that just a product of the teams they have played so far? And I think we're going to get Saturday we're going to find out, and then obviously against Tennessee I think we're going to find out too. So we're going to get some good tests here in the next couple of weeks.
I'm curious if on tape preparing for Ole Miss that it was just, let's say, just in the fourth quarter against Georgia last weekend. I wonder if it was Ole Miss just kind of peeing down their leg and they just couldn't execute anymore, or did Georgia find something that Ole Miss was really struggling with, and is Brent Venables able to take that and sort of build on that and show some different looks? Like, did Georgia start to make the picture a lot less clear for Chambliss? And because, I mean, that Venables is going to do a lot of that. And then also, I do think it matters at this point in time. OU's defensive line and their pass rush is a different beast and a different animal. And that's not something that Ole Miss has seen this year. And I know that's sort of another way of just like your cliched college football argument of, ain't played nobody type deal. But Ole Miss has not seen anybody up to the caliber of OU's defensive front. And that changes things. Absolutely, for the quarterback. Is he going to be like, is it going to be for the first time all year? Is he like actually made to be very uncomfortable? And when that happens, what happens to his passes? Do they sail? Does he just eat it? Does he struggle to pull the trigger like Jackson Arnold does? When he's in trouble, like in terms of scrambling, is he predictable in how he scrambles? Stuff like that. So OU's defense and through their preparation, they're going to know all of that stuff if it's been on tape. So I think it's going to be an interesting battle for sure. Ole Miss is going to win a fair share. It's a really good offense, and I mean, honestly, if you take away their one outlier weird performance where they kind of escaped against Washington State 2 weeks ago, their offense has been right up there probably with the 5 best in all of college football. And me personally, I think it's the best offense OU's going to see the rest of the season. I think Ole Miss's offense is better than Tennessee's, Alabama's, Missouri's, and definitely LSU's. So I think this is going to be a pretty huge, and that's not to say, I mean, I think Tennessee and Alabama both have good to really good offenses as well. But I think this one is going to be the biggest test. I think this team completes forward passes at the highest, most consistent level of any team that they'll face the rest of the season. And so I'm curious to see what OU's defense looks like. If they play like they did against Texas, then oh God, oh no. But maybe they got something else up their sleeve. So I kind of want to just like run down this because I'm through 7 games. The pass catchers for Ole Miss, like how balanced they are and how they have 5 guys who can beat you. And so their leading receiver is Harrison Wallace III. He's a transfer from Penn State. He was, I think he was Penn State's second leading receiver last year after Tyler Warren. He's their leading receiver. He's got 21 catches, 400 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He's at 19 yards a catch. After that, it's the aforementioned Daquan Wright, 19 for 393 and 3 tutties. And then there's Deuce Alexander. He's a transfer from Wake. He's got 22 for 382. So that's 3 guys there between 382 and 400 yards passing. Those are their top 3 guys. But then it's not a huge drop-off down to Dejon Stribling, who we are familiar with from Oklahoma State. He's got 305 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Caden Lee is their 5th leading receiver. Caden Lee was their 2nd leading receiver last season with Jackson Dart. He had about 900 yards last year. And if I remember correctly, he was with him and Daquan Wright were the guys who were wearing OU out over the middle of the field last year in Oxford. So Caden Lee was a guy who, when I looked at Ole Miss's roster of this, I was like, wow, that guy was really good. Like they're not really totally starting over if they're bringing that guy back. He's their 5th leading receiver this year. So
yeah, it was Stribling who had the long touchdown catch and run I was talking about earlier in the show last week against Georgia. Harrison Wallace is kind of an outlier, though. I was looking at his game log. He hasn't done really much in the last few weeks. He did all of his damage in the first few games of the year, so he's been pretty quiet. And
I wonder if
basically
he's
since SEC play.
Okay. Well, he's not on the injury report, so wonder if he had been banged up, or if it could also just be is Harrison Wallace, was that Austin Simmons' guy? And
yeah, he did. That's what I was thinking too. I mean, he had the first 2 games. He had huge games. So I guess one of them was against Kentucky, and he had a big game against Arkansas. But everybody has big games against Arkansas's defense, and that was Trinidad Chambliss throwing for much of that game. But anyways, either way, I mean, he's still he's out there. He was playing against Georgia. I mean, he I couldn't tell. There was a play late in the game on 3rd and long. It was like a jump ball to Wallace. I couldn't tell if it was knocked out of his hand or if he dropped it. I'm not sure how close you were watching that game, but either way, like they're still targeting him and he's still a part of the offense. It's just kind of interesting that he's done most of his day. I think only in the last 3 games only has like 6 catches or something like that. But
okay,
he's certainly capable of having a big game against Oklahoma, obviously.
Yeah. Ole Miss's defense, I think, is where, oddly, this is going to be of the Power 4 teams OU has faced. This is going to be, by like a long shot, the worst defense they've faced so far this year. And it's not like they're bad or they're 29th in SP+, but against the run, they are not good. I think I don't have it exactly in front of me. I think they're like 75th or something in the country against the run. Go and look at their box scores. Everyone they've played has been able to run it on them, except for LSU. And that includes the bad teams. Like, bad teams have run it on them this year as well. So I do think that was one area where Ole Miss arguably had the best defensive line in college football last season, and they had to dip into the transfer portal to build that defensive line. And they just don't really have the dudes up front as they did a season ago. And teams have been able to kind of push them around in the box a little bit in the run game. You just go watch the second half Georgia was getting 5-6 yards pretty much every time they turned around and handed it off. And so that's why OU sort of finding something in the passing game last week couldn't have come at a better time. And so in the running game last week couldn't have come at a better time. And hopefully they can build off of that momentum. It kind of looks like this defense is, if you're going to get anything against this defense on the ground, this may be the best one remaining on your schedule. Tennessee's defense is also pretty bad, but we'll see how that goes. One guy I thought, and so this was, and maybe this was just because OU up front last season was just so terrible offensively, and this guy was just able to eat, but Suntarian Perkins, I honestly, like, if you would have just asked me who I thought was the best defensive player OU played against a season ago, I would have said Suntarian Perkins. I think that guy's awesome. He had 14 TFLs last year, and I think a lot of those were sacks. Like, I think he had like 9 or 10 sacks a season ago. I think like 5 of them were against OU. But he hasn't really filled up the stat sheet this year, and it makes me wonder if it's because they just don't have like the massive space eaters in the middle that they did last year, that aren't allowing him to just kind of run around and make tackles. He's only got 1.5 TFLs this year, 36 tackles. So when I was kind of doing my prep, I was pretty surprised to see that he hadn't really been much of a stat stuffer this year. He's a guy who I think is probably going to be a day 1 or day 2 NFL draft, but he's really good. They haven't really rushed the passer exceptionally well this season. It's what they did. That's probably maybe the highlight of their team last year was how well they rushed the passer. They have 2 guys with 3 sacks who both lead the team. Both of their starting defensive tackles have 3 sacks apiece. Yeah. Xavier Harris and Will Eccles. So, and both of those guys are just Ole Miss guys. Those are guys they got out of high school. So we'll see. I didn't think that Gunnar Stockton was really under too much duress a week ago. I thought Georgia kind of had their way offensively whenever they needed it last week. So can OU, Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, and the offensive line, can they build on the momentum that they sort of created at least in the first half a week ago? I didn't think they were good at all in the second half. But maybe they get a bit of a respite going up against a defense that doesn't necessarily have the pedigree as their first 4 Power 4 opponents.
By the way, yeah, Perkins against OU, he had 4 of his sacks in that game. So almost, I think he finished with 10.5 last year. So he did almost half of his damage just against Jackson Arnold and Oklahoma's offensive line. But yeah, that's interesting. Only 1.5 this year. And I know that Eichert was talking about those 2 big defensive tackles for Ole Miss. Thinks that they're their 2 best defensive players. And interesting to hear that, though, their run defense is not that great, because you think a couple big space heaters up front would be able to kind of slow up the run, but apparently no. I mean, but they're creating havoc, though, with TFLs and sacks. But I guess they're playing a ton of snaps.
Yeah, playing a lot. And, I mean, just go look. I mean, they gave up chunk yardage on the ground to Georgia State when they played them. Washington State was able to run it on them. So, and nobody's gone for like 300 on them or anything like that. But if you sort of take away LSU, and LSU hasn't been able to run the ball on a living soul this season. Everybody else has gotten over 150 against them, and is at above 4.5 yards a carry. So they give up yardage. So there's OU, their offense hasn't been great this year. It hasn't even really been good. But what they are pretty good at is staying ahead of the chains. They are in third and manageable pretty often. And Ole Miss, based off what they've done in the first 7 games, are going to present OU with those opportunities this week as well, it looks like.
Yeah, that's something that you can definitely talk yourself into being a positive thing. You mentioned it a while ago about how this is going to be the lowest ranked defense, Power 4 defense they've faced so far, and it makes you think, okay, well, I mean, so Oklahoma's offense, yeah, good first half last week. Hey, depending on who you talk to, though, I mean, you could have done a heck of a lot more after halftime. They just didn't want to, I mean, sure. I mean, if they come out and they put up 40 on Ole Miss, then sure. Hey, I agree with you then. Oklahoma held something back last week, but anyways, that doesn't matter now. They got out of there with a win. But that's a good thing that Ole Miss's defense has been susceptible, especially on the ground, especially now as hopefully the running back room is a little bit more figured out. Still kind of curious if the fact that Taylor Tatum got a random carry last week, is he going to be mixed in at some point in this game? We're expecting to see Blaylock and Robinson, obviously. And then another week of healing for John Mateer. So hopefully he can. I mean, was this? I can't remember. Were you thinking when the news came down about the surgery? Were you expecting him back for this game, or because I think I was expecting Tennessee. That's the game I was thinking he'd be back. But were you thinking this game?
Yeah, when I was originally in my feels, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't expect him until Alabama. But if this one seemed like the most realistic, if you wanted to be optimistic while also thinking like, oh, there's not like a miracle isn't going to happen. And so, well, I mean, his surgery was like a month ago now at this point in time, right?
Yeah, a little bit less. I think the Auburn game was on the 20th, I believe. I think it was September 20th. Today's the 22nd, so we had surgery probably, close to a month. So,
but I don't, I'm right there with you. Especially after watching last week and the game plan, I don't think he's not healthy. I think that's pretty clearly still affecting him. And so I'll kind of start here. We're going to talk about, what do you want to see happen on the offense? I'd like to see a healthy John Mateer. At least I'd like to see him let it rip a little bit down the field. Only if he's able to. Only if he's able to. If he can't, then don't mess around with it. But I'd really like to see some progress being made there, because I didn't. We're now 7 games into the year, and OU is kind of who they are, and they're not a team that really throws the ball down the field. But I really felt like in the first 4 games of the season before he broke his thumb, I thought that they were able to throw the ball down the field. Like it was, and they weren't super consistent with it, but he could pull it out when he really, really needed to. I'm thinking of, both of the shots down the sideline to Satania, one against Michigan, one against Auburn, which were just dimes, were great throws. There are other examples as well. And so he just had on those just way more zip. And it was clear that his arm talent was there. We hadn't seen that against Texas or South Carolina. I think there's clearly just not as much firepower in that hand right now. And hopefully just, another week of healing helps, but will it heal properly if he's still practicing full go? I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. So I hope the guy is healthy. I hope he can, because him being able to rip the ball down the field is gonna open up other stuff as well. I know, football 101 stuff, but first and foremost, I would like to see a healthy John Mateer. And it's not even just his hand too. Like I don't think he's healthy below the waist either. I still think that because he does not have the same burst and the same wiggle as we saw when we were watching him at Washington State. And I know it's against better competition, but he didn't have
part of it.
He didn't have the same wiggle. He didn't have the same wiggle or burst against like Temple or anything either.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, man. It's just not. That's why you have to pick and choose where you run them. And sure, but like that's going to happen though. I'm sure he was beat up and banged up last year too. I mean, they ran him 20 times a game. I mean, how could he not be? And I'm with you. You want to see, because man, if he had never been hurt and they were going into this game and he was fine, throwing the ball around, I feel pretty darn good. I mean, I do actually, as the week has gone on, I do feel a lot better about this game. More and more that I've kind of think about it and think about where Oklahoma has advantages here and there. But yeah, it is disappointing that he's banged up, but still, it's another week away. Maybe the healing process will continue on. He doesn't make excuses. He keeps saying that it's not really bothering him, but you watch the game against South Carolina. The ball just does not come out the same exact way. So let's look on the bright side here. Let's gotta act all like glass half full. I mean, South Carolina's not very good, but it was on the road, and Oklahoma won the game by several scores. Great. And John Mateer was fine. I mean, he was a game manager. He had a couple of throws here and there. Could have had a little bit better numbers if Satana doesn't drop a pass here and there, but ultimately he wasn't asked to do a whole lot, but still he was okay. I mean, it's fine. We'll see against Ole Miss. What if Oklahoma's able to, they beat South Carolina, they can figure out a way to win against Ole Miss, and then he keeps getting killed. Down the line, maybe Oklahoma being forced to play, and obviously if they can win games with like one hand tied behind their back, that might help them down the line, especially if Mateer can get fully healthy, and then they can kind of learn like, oh, we can win all different types of games. A low-scoring game, they haven't had a shootout yet this year, which you kind of hope they don't get into a shootout with Oklahoma's defense, but I mean, Brent Venables he's played some shootouts back in his Clemson days, especially in the playoff here and there. So
also in 2022 and 2023, also they played in some shootouts and won their fair share of them, I suppose.
That was Jeff Lebby, though.
Yeah.
Well, no, Ben Arbuckle and Mateer alike.
To continue, what I would like to see on the offense, this is the last thing here, and this is huge. I would like to see a pass catcher not named Isaiah Satania make some plays, and I will be much more specific. I would like to see 2 of Jaron Canick, Giovanni Gibson, or Deion Burks make some plays in the passing game. 2 of those 3 guys make some plays. Where's Jaren Kanak been? When the passing offense was going in the first 4 games, it was Jaren Kanak who was stirring the drink. Let's find him again in the passing game, because I still think he's there, and I'd really like them to make an effort to get him the ball. And then Veny Gibson. We'll see if last week it seemed like he played a majority of the snaps with the ones last week. Maybe he gets kind of back into the groove of everything, and we'll see. Deion Burks, he's a number 2. That's who he is, and so hopefully he can find some space, and we'll see if he can make a guy miss in the open field this week. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not gonna hold my breath. Especially, well, hey, with the wet turf though, maybe a defender will slip and he'll be aided by Mother Nature. Veny Gibson doing some extra film prep with Ben Arbuckle during the week and during the trip to South Carolina. It sounds like he's a guy that's really doing everything he can between the ears and on the field to get back to what sounded like he was playing like in the spring. And decent amount of targets against South Carolina, caught some first down catches. Yeah, I mean, another week of him getting healthy. So I'm with you. I don't know if he's going to be that downfield threat that we saw on tape last season with coming off that injury. But again, I mean, this is not like many people have pointed this out, but if he can be a nice stand-in and maybe a bit of an upgrade over like a Keontez Lewis, which would be a huge thing because Lewis was playing great. I mean, he was having a terrific season. And now, I mean, I think he was doubtful on the report, so it's almost like, hopefully he can get healthy again, but not counting on him to be available really anytime soon. And if he is, he's not 100%. So, yeah, I'm with you. Veny Gibson, I want to see him do some stuff. And, at this point, still, like, Deion Burks, anything he does is kind of like icing on the cake because he's a nice player. He's had some good moments this year, but he's been pretty quiet the last few games. I mean, it's Texas. He had some okay stuff, but, yeah.
I'd also really
Gotta
like
make that
to
guy
see
miss.
them. Yeah, and I'd really like to see them be a little bit more deliberate with their pacing on offense in this game. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the entire world if they try to play a little bit of a ball control type offense in this game. And that's okay. It's any time Ole Miss's offense is not on the field, that's a good thing. So I'm always a big fan of tempo, but pick your spots. Pick your spots with the tempo. Not a fan of tempo at all times, but tempo can be really, really, really advantageous to you, especially, like after a first down or a good personnel package on the field. That would really be the only time I would like to see some tempo. Other than that, and they huddled quite a bit last week against South Carolina. We'll see if there's more of that in the game plan this week, just kind of trying to keep more of a ball control thing, which, hey, man, I love hucking it deep and scoring as much as humanly possible, but at some point in time, you have to just sort of acknowledge what you are and just operate under those auspices. So we'll see what it looks like. You have anything else you want to see on the offensive side of the ball?
I want to see Derek Simmons playing and healthy.
Same.
I mean,
I'd like to see
if he's
Trent.
not out there,
I'd like to see Trent Williams, I don't know, appear randomly like in a DeLorean in the middle of the game or something and pop out and be able to play. He's just his college self, and he can play left tackle for them. It'd be cool if Creed Humphrey got out of the DeLorean with him as well. Maybe Lane Johnson too. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time, but
not enough room in the car. I don't know.
Oh, that's a
Some
good
big
point.
guys.
A pretty small car. All right, Lee, on the defensive side of the ball, what do you want to see from OU in this game other than a shutout and Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin leaving the stadium in tears?
Yeah, my main thing is I'm watching the secondary, man. I'll reiterate it again. I want to find out if their high rankings have been a product of their schedule or if it's legit. And I think it's a mixed bag because I do think, I'm sure if we had the all 22s, you could go back to a lot of plays this year where they had some good coverage in the back end that the quarterback had to hold the ball. And sure, but like where I get angry and get mad and frustrated is I'm not expecting them to play perfect every play. That's impossible. But it's when the mistakes are made on plays that are not hard plays. That's what bothers me. Like the touchdown against South Carolina. that it's fourth down. You know they're going to throw. You know the front four, they're blitzing, they're coming out. Look at the defense, like understand where you're supposed to be. Don't let a guy cross your face. Realize there's not going to be much time. So it's allowing stupid plays to happen. Kendall Dolby, not knowing what to do against Texas and the one touchdown there. Simple motion. And everybody, I mean, it looked like Dolby was the one that busted. Who knows? Maybe he did maybe he actually did the thing that he was supposed to, and the other guy's busted. I don't know. So it's stuff like that. Again, you're not going to be perfect every play. Oh, Eli Bowen against Texas, whenever he's in the flats and he's got a guy and he should be carrying that guy and he doesn't, and he lets that guy get to the edge, and it's an easy pitch and catch for Arch Manning for a first down on third down and long. Stuff like that where that's not hard. So there's going to be tons of opportunities in this game, and the secondary players are going to make probably a lot of mistakes. But who knows? Maybe they're going to, against the first real big-time throw the ball around, chuck it around team they're facing, maybe they will surprise me and force some turnovers and show some anticipation. Because, again, last year the run defense was pretty good, but Jackson Dart got pretty much everything he wanted, and it seemed like even though their third down conversions last year for Ole Miss wasn't amazing, they were 5 of 13, which is not bad, but it's not great. It seemed like they always converted really important third downs in that game, and it was all through the air for the most part. And so that's it. Because I have confidence in the defensive line, the linebackers, although I felt this way going into the Texas game and it didn't seem to matter. So just want to see the secondary play well and want them to look like they're out there and they're anticipating throws and they're taking advantage of our Mason Thomas and Taylor Wine and Grayson Halton and all the big guys getting after the quarterback and putting Chambliss probably in some precarious situations. And maybe that 62% completion percentage he's got is going to show up, and he's going to throw some things off balance, off platform, and maybe Oklahoma's defense can make some plays.
Yeah, so that's part of what I want to say. First and foremost, I want to see them make Trinidad Chambliss uncomfortable. Because even against Georgia, he wasn't really that uncomfortable. And Georgia can't rush the passer at all. They haven't been able to get to the quarterback against anybody this year. So we'll see if Oklahoma is able to do it. I think they certainly have a good chance of doing so. To kind of like go on what you were talking about, the secondary, because they are going to get beat in this game. It remains to be seen how much they get beat. I mean, Ole Miss is a really good offense. They practice too. They're gonna hit some plays. I think it's really important that when they do hit plays, don't let them score on those plays. Like that's when they are able to get an explosive on you, limit the damage. Do not let them cross the goal line on stuff like that. Because with a defense that good and a pass rush that good, and I mean we even seen it even when Brent Venables' defenses have been bad, like they were in 2022 and half of 2023, they were still like really good at the goal line. And so it's hard to score against OU when you're really, really close to the end zone. And so that's why I think they need to really, really prevent those explosives and being able to score from distance. Another thing that we haven't really mentioned Ole Miss's running back really at all, Kawan Lacey. And he's a guy he's been consistent this year. He's not an explosive guy. He's only a 4.5 yard per carry guy. But he does have 618 yards. He's got 10 touchdowns. He's a guy that I don't think you're necessarily scared of him scoring from like 60 yards away, knock on wood again. But he's a guy who has been consistent for them and keeping them ahead of the chains. So like 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, very, very, 3rd and 2s, very, very consistently for Ole Miss. Let's stop the run on first down. Let's for the first time all year, let's put them totally behind the chains so that it really sort of shrinks their playbook and so they can't really get into their bag as much. And OU, that's a lot of the times that is their strategy on defense, is to put you in 3rd and long by sending a ton of guys in the run game early on. And so that means Kawan Lacey is likely going to get loose a few times. Everybody has gotten loose against OU a couple of times in the game this year in the run game. but you have to limit the damage of those, and we'll see if OU can do that. All right, Lee, what's going to happen on Saturday? How you feeling?
So I as I was on an airplane for a long time today, 2 airplanes, and I was kind of thinking about a lot of things. So I wrote some notes down and I have some thoughts, and I think this is probably a good time for it. So I'll start with this. So I think Brent Venables has a chance this weekend, I think, to solidify himself as the guy. And, hey, I'm different than Lincoln Riley, obviously. And this is better than what it was before in the sense that what does Ole Miss do? Ole Miss gets things done on offense, an elite offense, really, really good offense. That's what Lane Kiffin's calling card has been. Defensively, they were much better last year. I mean, this year they're not bad. They're okay. They're okay defensively. Nothing special, but not terrible. And I think Venables has a chance to show that his style of defense first with a functional offense is better than the flashy, all offense, all the time approach that Oklahoma had for years under Lincoln Riley. And I think Ole Miss and I think Tennessee kind of fit that bill, the next 2 opponents. And the defenses for both Ole Miss and Tennessee are obviously better than what anything Oklahoma put out there under Riley, but just the style. OU's offenses under Lincoln Riley had success against those excellent SEC defenses like Georgia, Alabama, and even to LSU in that Peach Bowl to some extent. But it was not consistent success throughout a full game. And during that time, Oklahoma's defenses, of course, were awful. So you flip that, and Oklahoma's defense now is elite. I mean, relative to college football this season, I mean, it's an elite defense. It might be the number 1 defense. It's arguable. There might be another one out there. I mean, Ohio State's is really good.
Ohio State, Texas, and OU have kind of separated themselves amongst everyone. I know, like, Indiana and Oregon are there. I don't think they've been as dominant as those aforementioned 3.
So what I'm getting at, though, is this style of play of, what we saw for so many years under Lincoln Riley where such elite offense, and it was good for a lot of the game, but there'd be those series and drives where we'd be like, come on, you gotta do better. And the standard was so high for the offense because the defense was so bad. And they could never – the offense, if they were rolling and the defense finally got to stop, it always seemed like the offense then couldn't take advantage of it. So flipping that around, obviously we know Oklahoma's defense is going to give up some, and they're going to make some mistakes, but Venables can kind of solidify himself as like, hey, my style of ball with this elite defense throughout the game is just better. And so I'm kind of looking at that. That's kind of the stylistic there. Also, I think if Oklahoma wins this football game, Oklahoma should make the playoff this season. If OU wins on Saturday, they should make the playoff. Ole Miss is a really good team, and I think the offense is elite. I think they have an elite offense. And if Oklahoma beats this team, that will signal to me that they should win at least 3 of the next 4 and finish at worst 10-2, which you would think at 10-2 with Oklahoma's schedule, that earns you a playoff spot. So that's another thing I was thinking of. So to the question, what's going to happen? The number is wild. I'm shocked. I would have guessed that Ole Miss was like a slight road favorite. And then I kind of thought, that's dumb. So it was 2.5. I thought 2.5 Oklahoma, but I think it might have opened at 3.5, and it ballooned all the way to 5.5. Oklahoma favored. That number tells me Oklahoma's going to win the football game. And so I've been thinking, okay, let's work behind. Let's work reverse. How does that happen? You mentioned this earlier in the show, and I agree with you. Time of possession. How does Oklahoma win this game? They have the ball longer than Ole Miss. They keep Ole Miss's defense off the field, which Oklahoma's offense has shown the ability to do that. I think Arbuckle takes that into account, and we've seen that. And I think if time of possession is going to go Oklahoma's favor, let's hope it's like 33-27, heck, even 34-26, somewhere there, maybe even better. That means Oklahoma's probably running the football pretty well. Blaylock and Xavier Robinson are doing similar things, mix and Mateer here and there, picking up third downs. That's probably happening. Another thing, Oklahoma's probably playing from ahead. And they're making Ole Miss uncomfortable, and they're making Oklahoma's defense a lot more comfortable. And ultimately, I think what happens is Trinidad Chambliss probably struggles. They make him uncomfortable. It looks like Bryce Underwood did in the Michigan game, where he was just uncomfortable, and they just kind of packed it in. I mean, they didn't ask him to do a whole lot because Oklahoma's making them super uncomfortable getting after him. So I say all of that. My final score prediction, though, is tight. And I would not have said this a week ago, but as I've thought more about it and done more research on the game and kind of weighed everything, I think Oklahoma's going to win the football game. I say they're going to win 27-24, and I'll say it again. That man, the kicker, game-winning kick, or at least some big kick in there that makes Oklahoma, get that 3-point win. But I do think Ole Miss finds a way to cover the 5.5.
Can't even say his name. Can't even say Tate Sandel's name.
No.
Okay.
No, I blanked on his name, so thanks for helping me.
I will admit to honestly, on Saturday of last week, I was like, at the end of the day, I was feeling pretty confident about this game. I was like, yeah, I think OU's probably going to win. I think we've gotten closer as the week has gone on. I think I've started to get more of an uneasy feeling about the game. You don't really need to read into that at all. It's just a gut feeling. I don't know. I will say that if I try to step outside of the emotion and everything, you're right. That line is screaming, like, because I couldn't really make sense of it either. It sort of surprised me. And, you go by betting principles. You go with the line that you don't understand. You go in that direction. And so I think, Vegas being solidly on OU's side in this is giving me a little bit more confidence. But I think overall for me, I think my uneasiness is pretty much just explained by Brent Venables, because I do think this game does signify a hump for him. And if OU were to win this game, to me it would feel like them getting over the hump. And more specifically, Brent Venables getting over the hump. And that's not really something I'm necessarily ready to say that I'm confident in it happening at this point in time. So I'm going to stay with my bit. I'm not going to give a prediction to the game. I'll just say that I feel uneasy about it. I don't feel great about it. What I will say is if OU wins on Saturday, they are going to go into Knoxville and beat Tennessee. That's something that I would feel pretty confident in saying. But we're going to see what this defense looks like against that offense. And I don't know. I mean, I wish it was a night game. Really, really wish it was a night game. I think that would help out a whole lot. But hopefully everybody gets there early on Saturday morning, is all lathered up, and is ready to scream really, really loudly. And I do think it helps that the weather is supposed to be pretty spotty and supposed to be like, and I prefer to watch games in that stadium on TV when it is overcast. I hate watching games on TV when it's sunny in that stadium. I don't think it looks very good. That's a weird peculiarity of mine. So it's easier for me to envision them winning the game if it's overcast out. I know that sounds really stupid, but I feel like Brady Trantham would like understand that deep in his loins of what I just said. But you're probably just like, that's stupid. So, huge game.
I mean, I
will
really
Brent
thought about it. Yeah. So,
will Brent Venables get over the hump? I don't know, but I do think that this is a massive opportunity for him to do so. And I will say, going into a game like this, I'm really happy that OU's defense is really good. That certainly creates a little bit more confidence. So, it's gonna be a fun game. I hope it goes well. It did not. The last time I was in Iowa City watching a game, OU kicking off at 11, the game I was going to kicking off at 2:30, did not go well. That was OU at Baylor in 2021 when they went into that game at 9-0, and they just got kind of run off the field. They got smoked. But also that was a road game, and this is a homer. So should be fun. Excited to watch it. Moving on to the college football landscape. I think nationally we have a pretty light week for the most part. Basically, all of the big time games in college football this week are in the SEC. There are 3 ranked on ranked matchups in the SEC this week. There are none in the rest of college football. So we got 3 SEC games that we're going to pick here as part of our picks. We'll save those. Are there any other games? I think, I think Auburn opened as a slight favorite over Arkansas, but that line has already shifted pretty radically to Arkansas. They're a 2.5-point favorite. I don't think anybody who has any sort of sense about them would take Auburn on the road in an SEC game at this point in time. So
that number screams Auburn's quit. Arkansas is kind of re-energized with Petrino as the interim head coach.
Arkansas's offense is awesome. Arkansas has the best offense in the SEC.
Well, they played the 2 games under Petrino. They've played really tight against good teams, and lost by a field goal. So, I mean, they're in these games now. They're at home against a struggling Auburn team. So yeah, that line tells you it's Arkansas or pass for sure.
Yep, and I'll be in a legal betting state this week, so that is a game that I could theoretically bet if I want to. I'm not betting that game. I'm not going anywhere near that game. Alabama and Columbia, the week after OU dispatched of South Carolina rather easily, I think is interesting. It's at 12.5 right now. Alabama is a favorite. I'm not expecting any sort of South Carolina pluckiness, but it also wouldn't shock me if that's a game into the fourth quarter, although I'm not necessarily expecting it.
Not me, man. I think this is going to be I think Bama's going to wipe the floor even with LSU. But actually, Bama's got a bye after this. South Carolina, that game. I mean, we were talking about Shane Beamer and how they might be kind of out and quitting. I mean, that was such a bad game, and I think Alabama's really good. So I think it's going to be maybe even worse than the OU game for them. It's not going to go well for them.
I don't know if Alabama is really good. I don't. It's a good team. It is. But
maybe I just like their coach a lot.
I think they're quite gettable. I really think they are. They're a good team, really good team maybe. But I don't think we can totally chalk up that Florida State game at the beginning as a total and utter fluke yet. I don't think we can. I still think they have that in them. So we'll see. Tennessee at Kentucky this to me screams Kentucky had their chance to get a really big season-defining win last week. This would be, I'd take Tennessee 7.5 pretty easily in this spot. I don't think there's any sort of way that Kentucky plays a second consecutive close game like that. They just kind of pissed all of that away.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of a low number though for how bad Kentucky's been. And so maybe you're getting a little bit of value. I mean, Tennessee's coming off that loss to Alabama. And then Tennessee's got OU on deck, so it's a little sandwich game for them.
A little look ahead for them, yeah.
But I mean, Tennessee's got to have it. I mean, they got to have it. And
yeah, and their schedule is because they can realistically talk themselves into still competing for the playoff. They've already played Georgia and Alabama, so we'll see with them.
By the way, real quick back to the OU game. Ole Miss's schedule after this game is just a walk in the park.
It is.
I didn't catch that until I looked at it here a second ago. So I mean, I don't know. Is this almost a must win for Ole Miss because they're at 10-2 with their schedule? I don't know if it's going to be as strong as I
think it depends.
Other SEC teams that it depends.
It depends on what happens with LSU. Because that's kind of their signature win.
Oh yeah,
but
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, if Ole Miss goes into Norman on Saturday and wins, I mean they're gonna be right up there with Oregon for super high playoff chances. You can basically pencil it because if they go into Norman and win, they can still lose another game and they'll get in the playoff. But they definitely need another sort of signature-ish win. So. It's a huge game.
Just for context, after OU, they home against South Carolina, home against the Citadel, home against Florida, and then a bye before they, of course, play the Egg Bowl at Mississippi State, which
I'm sure
not
that
a gimme
be tough.
these
days. That's always a pretty close game. That's another kind of OU Texas game where no matter who is good or who is bad, they always kind of play a pretty competitive game. So on the national scene, your guy Sig is a 25.5-point favorite at home against UCLA, which has all of a sudden won 3 games in a row and controls their destiny for the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, it's too many points. It's too
Yeah,
many
I agree.
points. I love Sig, but it was too many points last week against Michigan State. By the way, hey, Indiana didn't let the guy walk out the door. They just locked him up.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to prevent an SEC team with means to come after Sig if like they really, really want to. And maybe Sig just wants to stay there.
I mean, he's now the 3rd highest paid coach in the country. So, I mean,
and if a SEC team with means needs to make him the highest paid coach in the country, they will.
I mean, I heard his little press conference thing, and he talked about, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he needs to be the highest paid coach. I think he has some stuff. Anyways, there's not worth talking about.
It's
Indiana did what they had to do.
Yeah, Indiana's a great team. I'm very, very much looking forward to Indiana, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. That's going to be just a great football game. And what I will say is I still think ultimately Indiana does not keep Sig. That would be, if you made me bet my life on it, that's the direction I would go. But I do need to reiterate, Signetti staying at Indiana and being there for like the rest of his career would be great for college football. Would be really good for the sport. And I'm like, I hope that happens. I hope he stays there. South Florida and Memphis I only put this on here because I think that's the winner of that game is likely going to represent the group of 5 or the group of 6 now in the college football playoff, or at least it's going to put them in pole position to do so. So I mean, I don't have any real thoughts on that game. I think the group of 6 this year is pretty bad and gonna get their doors blown off by whoever they play. It's not like Boise last year, which had arguably the best player in college football, keeping them like able to sort of like keep them in games. And this year, it's just going to be a total mollywomping whenever they get to the playoff. So the other 2 here we'll save for our picks, and then I just got to throw that on there on CBS at 2:30. The Floyd of Rosedale, Minnesota and Iowa. Lee, we're sitting in one of the end zones, like pretty high up, so we should have like a pretty good view of everything. I've heard that's just like a lovely spot to see a bunch of punts. So, which we will see a many of them, presumably on Saturday. I don't know. I was in attendance for the Gophers beating Nebraska last week and on Friday night, even though I left the game early. But that game wasn't competitive, and to me, it sort of feels like and Gophers aren't very good, and but I was not very good either. So
for a rivalry game, that's too many points. Give me the Gophers. I'll take the 8.5.
That's kind of that's my feeling too. I'm trying to I don't want to be emotional about it, but I'm not emotional. The Gophers aren't any good, so I understand the 8.5 there. So, all right, moving on to the Week 9 picks. Lee, you were 3-2 last week. I had a horrible, no good, terrible 0-5 week. Mm-hmm. Just wasn't good for me. wasn't feeling it. Wasn't reading it. We're on to Week 9. We're on to Week 9. That's all I can say. We will start with one of the big SEC games of the week, 2:30 on ESPN. Back-to-back weeks, Vandy's got a massive game at home in Nashville. I don't have Vandy's rank on here. I don't know why I did, but Vandy's top 10. They're the 10th in the country
top 10 team.
in the AP poll. I believe they were a 2.5-point favorite last week over LSU. I went with LSU in that game. Missouri this time coming into Vandy. This is kind of a gotta-have-it situation for Missouri as well. And I'm actually going to go with the Tigers. I like Missouri and Ahmad Hardy to kind of keep ahead of the chains with the ground game. And I still just if Vandy wins this game, I mean, they're like going to go to the playoff, and I just don't think the world is ready for that yet. So I will go with that dork Eli Drinkwitz and Missouri to get one over on Vandy in Nashville.
Yeah, I'm give me the doors again. You kidding me? I'll take Vanderbilt. Back-to-back home games.
Just let it ride.
Missouri's coming off that super emotional road win over Auburn in overtime, another road game for them. Vanderbilt's good, man. They believe. It's less than a field goal. Yeah, give me Vanderbilt.
I know you're not usually interested at all in Heisman Trophy discourse, but I think, you ask me, I think Diego Pavia is pretty clearly the Heisman winner right now. I'm not entertaining the Ty Simpson stuff yet. I still need to see a lot more from him. To me, it's Pavia or it's Fernando Mendoza. I think those are really the two guys, and then there's a pretty big gap between who else you could pick.
You're right. I don't have any. I don't care.
And I also do want to say that if Ty Simpson, Diego Pavia, or Fernando Mendoza, if one of those three guys is the best quarterback in college football, it's a really poor year for quarterbacks in college football. That's all I have to say about that. Lee, the 11th ranked BYU. I know you're a big Joseph Smith guy.
Yep.
They are on the road. They're
Huge.
traveling
I love
to Ames.
milk.
Milk's good. They are traveling to Ames. Iowa State, unranked, they're 2.5-point favorite over a fringe top 10 BYU team. It's pretty easy. Betting principles tell you to take Iowa State all day, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yep. BYU coming off that rivalry win over Utah, coming down on the road. This line's telling you to take Iowa State. Give me the Cyclones.
In the Big Ten, Illinois is ranked again, I guess. I don't know, even though they've lost to the only two good teams they've played this year. But
Why are you
also,
putting this game in there? This is hard.
not a whole lot going on in college football this week. We can't pick the OU game and put all the other kind of like interesting SEC games in there. Stay with betting principles. This is a Washington pick. It's an unranked team that is favored over a ranked team at home. You go with the Fighting Jed Fishes.
Gosh, it's a weird number, man. And like Illinois is going to Washington, one of those fun Big Ten, those classic Big Ten matchups. Give me Illinois. I just got a feeling about the Illini. I don't like the Vegas zone, the 4.5. It's weird. So Illinois is coming off a bye. Their last time out, they got beat by Ohio State. Does
it have anything to do with your fraudulent Bears winning 4 games in a row? You just feeling good? You just trying to get that sweet Illinois action, or what?
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. If Lovie Smith was the Illinois coach still, boy, how happy would I be? What are you talking about the Bears being fraudulent?
Yeah, it's not a good team.
Hey, man.
Not a good team. Caleb Williams
we'll
is
see.
not good. He's not a good NFL player. Lee, Texas is traveling to Stark Vegas this week. Take on Klanga, Mississippi State. I hate this number. I really hate this number, and it's going to force me to take Texas, unfortunately. They are favored by 6.5 over Mississippi State. The game's at 3:15 on the SEC network. I am going to take Texas again. Hopefully this is another reverse jinx, and hopefully this time Mississippi State can finish the job where Kentucky failed. So I will take Texas, but also this is kind of like a reverse jinx situation. I hope they lose, obviously.
Man, yeah, why is it not 7? I'll take Texas too, but it's gosh, Jeff Lebby, I guess he's 1-1 against Texas as an OC. Wait, did they play? They probably played last. I think Mississippi State got smoked by Texas last year.
I thought they kind of moved the ball a little bit in the first half of that game, though, if I remember it correctly, in Austin.
Yeah, with that freshman.
Yeah, who is now
Van Buren.
LSU's backup, Van Buren.
Yeah, that's right. It was 14-6 at halftime, and then the final score was.
I'm sure Arch started that game too. Pretty sure he did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, give me Texas because it's under 7.
Finally, 6:30 p.m. primetime Saturday night college football on ABC. Texas A&M is a 2.5-point road favorite over number 20 LSU. It's a pretty easy LSU pick for me. I like LSU outright in this game.
This is why you gotta. Yeah, I do too. And this is why you got to got to get to the number earlier because I think it was 3. I think there were some 3s out there earlier in the week, and now of course it's down to 2.5. Yeah, I just if A&M, I mean A&M's got a chance to show that they're actually something for real. I mean they go on the road at night and beat LSU.
I think A&M can essentially, if A&M can punch their ticket to the playoff, like realistically speaking, by winning on Saturday night. Because that gives them because with that road win against Notre Dame, that A&M's very obviously getting in at 10-2. Win this game, they just got to go 2-2 the rest of the season. I think they're realistically going to punch their ticket if they win, although they're not going to. LSU's going to win this game.
Yeah, LSU coming off that loss to Vanderbilt. I'm sure A&M fans are like, gosh darn it, why'd they have to lose that game? But hey, I mean, I don't know. Like everyone, there was an article out about, A&M's coach about how he's, they have an adult in the room now. So who knows? I mean, I like Elko. I think he's a good coach. Their schedule's been pretty weak so far for the most part, minus the Notre Dame game. But
played Notre Dame when Notre Dame was still kind of trying to figure it out. And even then, that was a wild, wacky game.
Yeah, it's high scoring. Wow.
Yeah, you can't take it. I mean,
the defense has gotten a lot better since then.
Yeah.
I guess they gave up 42 to Arkansas, though.
They sure did. But Texas A&M's a good team. They're a good team. And I think this is going to be the first time though that they play like a genuinely really good defense. Though they haven't played any of those so far this season. I guess Auburn's defense is pretty good, but they only scored 16 at home against Auburn when they should have scored a lot more. So maybe that is a sign of things to come. To recap, Vandy a 2.5-point favorite at home against Missouri. I am on Mizzou. Lee is riding with the Doors for the second straight week. We're both on Iowa State as 2.5-point favorites over 11th-ranked BYU in Ames. Another crossfire in Illinois and Washington. Washington's a 4.5-point favorite. Lee is on the Illini. I am on the Fightin' Jed Fishes. We are both, unfortunately, on Texas as they travel to Starkville to face Mississippi State. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite. And we are both on LSU as 2.5-point home dogs on Saturday night. I saw this. Can Texas A&M be the 16th team since the turn of the century to beat LSU in Death Valley at night? I don't know. We'll see. Only 15 teams have ever done it. Oh, ever. Wow. I mean, the turn of the century. So, all right, Lee, any other thoughts before we say goodbye until later this week?
Nope. Enjoy your trip to Iowa. I'm sure that'll be fun.
I will try. I cannot wait to, just like the sicko that I am, I just so excited to bet Georgia State and South Alabama tomorrow night. Just an absolute disgusting matchup between
sounds terrible
1-6 teams, both 0-3 in the Sun Belt. Got to have it situation for both of them. Keep their bull hopes alive.
Take the under.
Wait. Ooh, but
Just
also
kidding.
is it fun to take the under though?
I don't bet totals. I hate betting totals. It's just stupid.
It's
I
fun
like sides. That's about it.
It's fun when you bet the over though, and it hits really early on, and they're just like points just flying everywhere. It's great. But yeah. should be a good time.
All right. Well, I don't know when we're gonna do the show next, but I'm sure we'll have one. So enjoy the game, guys. Hope OU wins. Hope we have a lot more optimism coming out of that game. And if they lose, and the way it goes, well, we'll cross that bridge once we get there. So until next time, for Grant, I'm Lee. This is West of Everest. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to the show. And if you want to help us spread the word, please leave us a 5-star review. And also, tell all of your friends who are OU fans about West of Everest. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and SoundCloud.